Next, let us take a look at arrays. So here I have a new class called example arrays. Now what are arrays? Imagine I want to store a bunch of data. I can store data like this. So here I'm storing some data, that is integer a equal to 10, integer b equal to 20. I'm also declaring like variables like c, d and e, and I'm storing c as 30, d as 40, e as 50. Like I can have them in one line, I can have them in multiple lines, it doesn't matter. So I can store a bunch of numbers like this. But this doesn't look like an efficient way of storing numbers. I want to store 5 numbers. This doesn't look like an efficient way. And I'm likely to run out of variable names too. So another way to do it, maybe I can do the same thing like this. So let me comment out this block of code. To comment out this block of code, you can just select it, click on source, and then say add block comment. So this whole thing will be like blocked. So here I have like int a1 equal to 10, a2 equal to 20. Like this I can declare all the numbers. But this still does not look efficient. So what is an efficient way of storing large amounts of data, uniform data? So to do that, let me block this code. An efficient way of storing large amounts of uniform data is called arrays. So if you want to store a large amount of data, the best way to store the data is, so here I have declared an array of a. So how you declare an integer array is, you say integer square brackets a equal to all the numbers that you want to store in an array. Once you declare something like this, what happens is internally Java will create a boxes like this. Since we named the array a, it will label the boxes like this. So here you can see that we created an a array and it has 5 numbers. So Java internally will create 5 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will label the boxes as a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4. This is read as a of 0, a of 1. And it will put those 5 numbers in these boxes. So this is an array, an efficient way of storing a bunch of homogeneous data. So if you want to access some data in this array, all you have to do is try to print out, like say a of 2 and a of 4, it will print out 30 and 50. So let us print out something from the array. So here you can see that I am trying to print out a of 2 and then there is a space and then I am trying to print out a of 4. Remember, arrays always start at 0, so a of 2 will print out, this is a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, 30, and then a of 4 is 50. So let us save this and run this. So you can see that 30 and 50 are being printed out. Now you may ask, like, what if I want to loop through all the numbers and print out all the numbers in the array? To loop through all the numbers, you can use something called as a for each statement or an enhanced for statement. The way to write a for each statement or enhanced for statement is for. Now the data type of the array, whatever the data type of the array, in this case the data type of the array is integer, some temporary variable, colon, and then the name of the array a, curly braces, and inside this you can print out the temp variable. So what happens in this case is, let us save and run this. You can see that all the values in the array, that is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, have been printed. So how this enhanced for work is, the very first time it comes and sees this for int temp colon a, it takes the first value of a, the first value of the array a, and puts it in temp, and then it is printing out temp. The second time it loops through, it takes the second value of a and puts it in this temp, and then it prints out temp. So this is an enhanced for statement. Of course, it is not required that whenever you declare an array, you should immediately give all the numbers in that particular array. You can first declare an array and then you can assign numbers to it like this. So in this case, I have declared an array called x and I am saying like new int of 5. That means this x array will have 5 numbers. So immediately Java behind the scene will create 5 boxes. and label them as x of 0, x of 1 till x of 4. Remember, arrays always start at 0. Now, since we have just declared the array, like here, and since that array x does not have any values, by default it will put the value 0. So here you can see that 0 is the value available. Of course, you can always assign data later like this. So here you can see that I am assigning x of 3 is 25 and x of 0 as 12. So x of 0 will be 12 and x of 3 will be 25. Let us loop through this particular array. I can have some temporary variable. So here I have some temporary variable temp2. I'm going to loop through this x array and I'm going to print it out. Let's save and run this. To differentiate between this printout and this printout, I'm just going to have this dash 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 printed in between. Save and run. So here you can see that it is printing out this other array with 12, 0, 0, 25 and 0. 12, 0, 0, 25 and 0. The zeros are default if you don't give any values for an integer array. Of course, you can create any type of arrays. You can also create string arrays if you want. So here I have a string array called st, which has 1, 2 and 3, and I can loop through string arrays. So you can see that it is printing out 1, 2 and 3. Same way I'm creating an empty string array, and inside which, so here I'm creating an empty string array inside which I'm placing the text 25 and text 12. You can see that these are not numbers. I have put them within double quotes. So let's save and run this. So same way here I'm declaring a string array of 5 and I'm putting the text 25 and text 12 in the string array of 3 and string array of 4, and I'm looping through this particular string array. Now the one big difference between declaring a string array and declaring an integer array is, I told you if you declare an integer array, by default all the values will be 0 and then you can assign numbers. But for string array, the default is null values. The default is null values. So here instead of zeros, you're going to have null values and null here. And when you save and run this, you can see that 12, null, null, 25 and null are being printed. Next, let us take a look at a two-dimensional array. So here I have a class called example2dim_array. Now arrays need not be one dimension like this. That is, you have like one array of numbers. It can be two-dimensional. What does it mean by two-dimensional? Two-dimensional arrays are a kind of a matrix. So here you have like columns, column 0, column 1, column 2, and then rows, that is column row 0, row 1, row 2 and row 3. Two-dimensional arrays, you can label them. That is, here you have like a 2dim array of 0, 0, that is the 0 row and 0 column. This box is 0 row first column and 0 row second column. Here it is row 1 and 0 column, row 1 and 1 column. And in these boxes you can assign numbers, and this would become a two-dimensional array. So how do you go about declaring a two-dimensional array and assign values? You can declare a two-dimensional array like this. Int 2 square brackets, like an array name 2dim, and then new int of how many rows do you want and how many columns you want. Here you can see that I want 4 rows and 3 columns. So what I did is I named the array as 2dim and I said 4 rows and 3 columns. 4 rows, 3 columns. Now to assign data to this array, I can assign it like this. So here you can see that I am assigning the second row first column as the number 10. So the second row first column will be assigned the value 10. So like this I can assign data to any of these boxes. I can also use 2 for loops to assign data automatically like this. So here you can see that I have a loop within a loop. I have a for int I equal to 0, I less than 4 and then I plus plus, and inside this I have like for int j equal to 0, j less than 3, j plus plus. And now I'm going to say, so here I am saying like two-dimensional of I comma j is equal to temp, and the temp value, initial value is 10, and then I am incrementing the temp value, that is temp plus equal to 10, that is temp equal to temp plus 10. So how this works is, the very first time I will be 0 and then j will be 0. So two-dimensional of 0 comma 0 will be 10. Then the temp value will increment by 10, that is temp will be 20. It will go here, and first it will go into the internal loop, that is I will still be 0 but j will increment by 1, so it will be 1. So 0 comma 1 will be 20. So you will have data like this. So 0 comma 0 will be 10, 0 comma 1 will be 20, this is the I and this is the j value, and here it will be like I value will be 0, next loop j value will be 2, and then the temp would have incremented to 30. So once j reaches 2 and then it increments to 3, it will come out of this loop, it will go back to this for loop, and I value will now be 1. So now it will once again come back. It will come back to this j, and j will start at 0 because now I is 1 and there will be a fresh j loop. So here it will be like two-dimensional of 1 comma 0, and that will be like the temp value. So it will take the latest temp value. So once that entire loop is done, it will fill up these boxes with these numbers. Suppose you want to see the printout, you can always redo this. And here, instead of assigning data, let us print it out. So I'm going to print out the two-dimensional of I comma j, the two-dim of I and j, what we declared here. So if you run this, you can see that all the numbers are printed from 10 to 120. 10 to 120. Of course, you may feel like I don't want everything to be printed in one line. Can we print it like a matrix? Yes, you can. Remember, the print line will always print in a new line, but you can use the print statement. The print statement will print in the same line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say system.out.print, print the number, but then the print statement will keep printing without creating a new line. So every time j loop ends, I want to print a new line. So I'll print an empty line like this, system.out.print line, and then I'll just leave it. So now let's run this. So here you can see that it has printed like a matrix, just like what we have drawn. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. So this did not print in a new line. It printed the two-dimensional of 0, 0, then the space, that is 10. And then the next time 0 and 1 and then space, but once the j got over, before going back to I, it printed a new line. So it came here and then it started printing 40, 50 and 60.